Hello everybody, let's learn this granny square today. Do you want to? So this is a maple leaf granny square. I had quite a few requests for this one. I already had the maple leaf tutorial on my channel, but today we're going to learn how to square it off. Alright, so for this particular granny, it measures about 8.5 inches. Nice size granny square. Now, you know, it's pretty much basic stitches. We got slip, single, half double, double, triple, and then you're going to have to work in that dreaded third loop. You don't have to, I guess, but in order for the maple leaf to give it that stick out look there, we're going to have to work in that third loop. If you don't, it tends to make your maple leaf look like a star, if you know what I mean. So don't fear though, that third loop's not that bad once you get the hang of it. Oh, and picos, which I'll show you how to do. Those are kind of hanging off here. The stem is made with the leaf. It's sewed on though, so it doesn't flop around. But yeah, and this is the other side. Sorry about my tails that I did not hide. So do you guys want to do it? Yeah, I got this one as well. Another color. It's pretty busy. That one's pretty busy. But I can show you the yarn that I am using for those. Okay, so that red one was made with, they're all made with Hirschner's worsted 8 yarn. The color of the red one is called Mahogany. Hey, this is great for my Canadian friends as well. Nice Canadian blanket or anything like that. And the multicolored one is called Hirschner's Worsted Celebrate in the color Harvest. And then I'm going to make another one for the tutorial. Purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to make a yellow one. And it is called Goldenrod. Now the white that I use is actually just some scrap yarn that I had. And if you want to know, it's actually 100% acrylic. This is all 100% acrylic. This is Premier Basic in basic white, plain white. So, hook size, 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Let's do it. You got this, okay? Don't worry about that third loop. You got it. And I am going to apologize for using a white yarn on a white background. I did not realize in the video while I was making it that I was doing that until I was at the point of no return. I did not realize till I was at my last row. So, I hope I do not get any complaints in the comment section, because remember, I am only human and I do make mistakes. I would never intentionally have done that had I thought first, which I didn't. And I am sorry. But I hope that you can still follow along okay. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is make the maple leaf, and then we will square it off. So we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. Remember, you don't have to use this yarn. Any 4-weight yarn will be just fine. Okay, we're going to start with a chain of 4. Now, if you want to use the magic circle for this particular part, you can. I'm not a fan. So I'm going to chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. Just like that. Now we're going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch here. We're going to be working through the center of the ring, and we're going to work 10 double crochets through the center of the ring. So there is 1. Again, we get on a yarn over, go through the ring, draw up a loop, and then do our double crochet. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. I'm going to continue around until I get a total of 10. Alright, so I have 10 double crochets there for round 1 of our leaf. So why don't we go in with a slip stitch into our first double crochet. Like that. Now we can pull our tail and close up our center circle a little bit more, and later we can sew it together if we need to. Alright. So for row 2, we're going to start with a chain 1, but we're going to do it loosely because we're going to work back into that chain 1 later. So don't do it extremely tight. All right, so that is actually, we're going to go back into it when we make it back around. So we chain one there. Now we're going to go to the next stitch, which is right here. So that chain one is kind of acting as a stitch for this first spot. So we're going to go to the next one. And we're going to start making the leaves of our maple, which are, there will be 5 of them. So in that next stitch, we are going to work a single crochet, a half double crochet into the same stitch, a double crochet into the same stitch, and then a half double crochet into the same stitch, and a single into the same stitch, just like that. So we did a single, half double, double, half double, single. Now we're going to skip one stitch, skip this one, and then the next one we're going to do the same thing. So skip, next one, go into it, and we single, and in the same stitch we half double, and in the same stitch we double, and then we go back down, and in the same stitch we half double and single, just like that. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way around. Let's do it again. Skip one stitch, so skip this one and go to the next, and we're going to go into it, and we're going to single, and then in the same stitch we're going to half double, and in the same spot we're going to double, and then we're going to half double, and we're going to single, just like that. So that is 3 little spots that start our leaves. Again, skip one stitch, skip it, and work the same thing into the next, single, half double, double, half double, and single, all into the same. All right, skip one, next stitch, same thing, single, half double, double, half double, and single. Now as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little points. Looks like a little star. Now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first chain one that we did. So if you look closely, we have like this little hole here. Don't go into it. Here is the first chain one that I said that we would need to go back into. Slip stitch into that, and that will end row 1, and you'll have 5 of those little bumps, or a little tiny star. Pretty cute if you ask me. Sew them on a baby blanket, but that's not what we're going for. We're going for a maple leaf. So we're going to start round 2, and we are going to chain 1, and again we're going to make that chain 1 loose because we will work back into it, just like that. All right, now we're going to be working into the next stitch right here, and we're going to single crochet into it, and then we're going to half double crochet into the next stitch, and in the next stitch right up here, which is actually the double crochet from the previous row, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that same stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Now we're going to work a half double into the next stitch and a single into the next, just like that. Now we're going to repeat that again, starting with a single into the next stitch, a half double into the next, oops, and 3 doubles all into the next stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then half double into the next, and single into the next, just like that. Now we're going to repeat it again, starting with a single into the next, a half double into the next, and then 3 doubles all into the next. There's 1, 2, and there's 3, half double into the next, and single into the next. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat that all the way around. We got 2 more spots to repeat, starting with a single, and I'll meet back up with you here at the beginning. All right, so we have come to the end of round 3. I just did my last single crochet, and again we need to slip stitch into our first chain 1. Now we're gonna slip stitch. See this? It looks like there's 2 spaces here. All right, this one right here is our chain 1. Ignore this one, it was from our previous slip stitch. So we're gonna go right here and slip stitch, and that ends round 3. Still looking like a star, kind of, I guess, but that's not what we're going for. Let's start round 4. Now this is the final round. So we're going to make the stem. All right, it's attached. So we're going to start off by chaining 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to do a single crochet into the second stitch from the hook, but I'm going to go flip my work and I'm going to go into the back bump. So if you count, this is 1, 2 single crochet in that second one, but to give it a clean look, I'm only going through that 1 loop on the back. And now I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the remaining 6 stitches of the chain, going through that back bump there. If you can't go through that back bump, you can do it as just go through it normally. It really doesn't matter, but you should have a total of 7 single crochets. Let me see what I got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, I got 1 more. I do. There it is, right here at the top. Go through that back bump on this very first one, and now I have 7 single crochets for my chain. Now I'm going to slip stitch back into the same stitch that I slip stitched into, so right back into this same spot. Try not to do them too tight because we're going to have to work through those later. Okay, there you got your stem. All right, now we're going to move on. Okay, we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Now try not to make these slip stitches too tight because some of them we're going to work into later. Like that. And then we are going to do a single crochet into the next stitch. Like that. And then we're going to work 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. So there's 1 half double and there's 2 half doubles. Now the next stitch should be the center stitch of your group of 3 double crochets from the previous row, and it is. We are going to work 2 double crochets into it. So there is 1 and there's 2. Now on this second double crochet we're going to do a picot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to come back down and we're going to slip stitch. I like to grab the front loop there of the top of the stitch and then the side of the stitch like that, and then we just slip stitch, and that puts a little ball on top just for added decor. Now I'm going to go back into that same spot and do 1 more double crochet. So we got 3 doubles there, and the middle double crochet has that picot on it. Now we're going to work our way back down, and we're going to put 2 half doubles into the next. There's 1 and there's 2, and then we're going to put 1 single into the next. And now we are going to slip stitch 2 times, but remember, don't do them too tight because some of these we will have to work back into. So there's 1 slip stitch, there's 2 slip stitch, and we're going to do the same thing that we did here again. So we're going to single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to put 2 half double crochets into the next. There's 1 and there's 2, and then the next stitch is going to get the 3 doubles, but the middle one has the picot, so we're going to go ahead and put 2 double crochets into it. There's 1 and there's 2, and let's go ahead and do that picot. So we're going to chain 3 and then come back down, and I grab the front loop of the top of the stitch and this loop here on the side and slip stitch right through. That gives you that little ball on top. Now I'm going to put 1 more double crochet into that same stitch, so I got a total of 3 double crochets with, and the middle one has the picot. I'm going to work back down, and I'm going to put 2 half doubles into the next. And then 1 single into the next. Now we're going to slip stitch twice again. Remember not to do it too extremely tight. Slip stitch once, and into the next stitch we slip stitch again. Now the next sleeve we're going to do a little bit different. We're just going to make it a little bit like a tad bigger. It's the middle leaf there, as you can see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. In the next stitch we're going to work 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Now this time we're going to work triples up here. We're going to do, it is the middle stitch of our group of 3 from the previous row. So we're going to work 2 triples into that stitch. There's There's one. And here's two. And we're going to put a picot on this one. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Come back down and grab that first loop at the top of the stitch. And then this side loop here. And slip stitch. And then we're going to do another triple crochet into that same spot. So we got 3 triples with the middle one having a picot. And then we're going to work 2 doubles into the next stitch. 1, 2, and then a half double into the next. Like that. Now we're going to slip stitch 2 times. So slip stitch into the next stitch. And then slip stitch into the next stitch. Now these last 2 leaves we're going to make the same as we did the first 2. So we are going to single crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 half doubles into the next. There's 1 and there's 2, and the next one is going to be the 3 doubles, but the picot is going to be in the middle one. So I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double. There's 2 doubles, and I'm going to put my picot in the middle, this one, on this one. 2, chain 3 like that. Come back down, grab that first loop and the side loop and slip stitch just like that. I'm going to put 1 more double into that same spot for a total of 3 doubles with the middle one having the picot. I'm going to work back down with 2 half doubles into the next stitch. There's 1, there's 2, and single crochet into the next like that. And we got 1 more leaf here, so we're going to slip stitch twice. So slip stitch into the next stitch and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and we're going to do here what we just did here. So we're going to do our single, single, 2 half doubles. There's 1, 2, and then our up here is where we put our 3 doubles, but the middle one has the picot. So there's 1, 2, chain 3, right down and slip stitch there in the side to make the picot. 1 more double in that same spot. Two half doubles into the next. And a single into the next. Now we're going to go ahead and end round 4 by putting a slip stitch into the next stitch. Now go ahead and pull up a little bit longer of a tail, because we're going to use this at the end to sew our stem onto the granny square. So don't tie it in, and leave a little bit longer tail for sewing. There we go. So there is our maple leaf. It's beautiful, but we need to make it a square. All right, so this first round is going to be the hardest round that you're going to do, but it's not going to be hard because you can do it. We're going to be working in a 3rd loop. Now by doing that, that allows these 2 loops to show, and it makes the leaf look more 3-dimensional, as well as still being attached to your granny square. Now if you do not work in the 3rd loop, it tends to look a little bit more like a star, but it still is technically a leaf. So we have to start in a specific spot. So on the second leaf, okay, here is our stem. Second leaf from this side. 1, 2. We need to start on the stitch right after the picot, okay? And we have to work in a third loop. Now, do you know what the third loop is? I'll show you in case you don't know. So you see, here are the loops. This is where we would generally start. The one closest to you is the front loop. The one furthest away is the back loop. But there's another loop. If you flip a little bit, you'll see it right back here. And that is the third loop. Not everybody likes the third loop. And sometimes it's difficult to see it. But I think it's necessary for this particular pattern. So here's the third loop there. There's the third loop for this stitch. Third loop there. Let's go ahead and start in the third loop of the stitch after this picot. So flip it over. It's right here. Now I changed to my white yarn, and what I'm going to do is pull that through. And I am going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. We're going to go back into that third loop and single crochet. Okay. Now we're going to, in the third loop of the next stitch, half double crochet. So just look back here and you can see the loop. It's right here. See it? Go into that and half double crochet. Now we're going to work a double crochet into the next 2 third loops. So come back and look. I know it's hard to see sometimes. There it is. Double crochet. It's hard to see, but if you look close enough, you'll see it. Double crochet into the next third loop. Sometimes it's tight and it's hard to get into. So what we have now is a single, half double, and 2 doubles. Now we are going to triple crochet into the next third loop. Like I said, sometimes it's tight. Triple, triple, triple. There's 1. Triple crochet. Now we're going to skip the next third loop. So we're actually skipping the loop for this slip stitch down here. And we're going to start the third loop of this stitch right here. Triple crochet into it of this stitch. So flip your work is right here. I know it appears to be stretched out, but don't worry. It'll go down. And now we're going to double crochet into the next third loop. Double crochet into the next third loop. Even I have trouble, so just take your time and look for it. I just think it's really important that you do the third loop on this particular design. There it is. And then we're going to half double crochet into the next third loop. And then the last one right up here, we are going to single crochet into the last third loop. Sometimes they're tight, sometimes they're tight. All right, here we go. We did it. We did it. we made it across and we worked in the third loop. Now you see, when you look at it straight forward, you can still see those 2 loops of the stitch, and it makes it look more like a maple leaf versus just working in the back loop. All right, so now what we're going to do is chain 1 loosely, because we're going to have to go into that chain 1 later. And we're going to just skip this picot, and we're going to jump right over here to the stitch after the picot, and we're going to do the same thing that we just did here. All right, working in the third loop. So the stitch right after the picot, single crochet, third loop, half double in the next, third loop, okay, double into the next. I gotta look forward and see where I'm at too. Double crochet, third loop. So we've done a single, a half double, a double, another double, and a third loop is what we need to do. A triple into the next third loop. They always get hard around the slip stitch area. All right, triple. Now we're going to skip this stitch here, and we're going to come over here to the first stitch of the start of this leaf, and we're going to work a triple in the third loop of that. So this is the, skip the slip stitch. This is the first stitch that starts the next leaf. Triple crochet into the third loop of that one. It ain't always easy, but it looks better. There we go. Now we're going to do a double crochet into the third loop of the next stitch, and a double crochet into the third loop of the next stitch, and a half double crochet into the third loop of the next stitch. Don't give up, you guys got this, okay? And a single crochet into the third loop of the last stitch before the picot. There we go. We did it again. Boom, we did it again. See that? It just looks, you can do it, don't worry, you can do it. You know how many times I took this out and redid it before I could get it done? A gazillion. But I'm not going to let some string and a hook beat me. So, I continue on. Chaining 1 loosely, skipping this picot. We're going to do the same thing over here that we just did over here. Alright? So we're going to start with the stitch after the picot, and we're going to single crochet into that third loop. Half double crochet into the next third loop. Double crochet into the next third loop. Double crochet again into the next third loop. Triple crochet into the next third loop. Always get so tight down here. Now remember, we are skipping these slip stitches here, and we have to start our next triple crochet in the first stitch of this leaf. So it's this one right here, not into those slip stitches. So triple crochet into the third loop of the first stitch of our next leaf. Triple, triple. Double into the next third loop. Double into the next third loop. Half double into the next third loop. and a single into the last third loop, which is right before our picot. I can't even see it. I can't even see it. There it is. I see it. There we go. Did it again. We did it again. Hey, we're almost there. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. This one right across here with the tail, it's gonna be a little tricky. All right. You got it though. You got it. All right. We're gonna loosely chain one again and move that picot out of the way. See that? Move it out. We don't need it right now. All right, single crochet into the third loop of the first stitch after the picot. Half double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next third loop. Double crochet into the next third loop. All right, this is where it's going to get tricky. Because this is here. It has to be here. And we're dealing with slip stitches. All right, I'm going to set that here. We're going to triple crochet into the next third loop. Now, you're not going to be able, probably not even going to be able to see it. So just kind of take a guess of where it's at. Just don't go into any one of those loops. Triple crochet. It's really tight too because these are slip stitches back here. Here we go. We did it. Got that one down. Now we have to do a triple crochet 2 together across the back of this stem. All right. So we're gonna yarn over twice, and we're gonna go into the third loop of the next slip stitch. So just back here, let's see what we can find. Tight. Okay, and then we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. Now we're going to go on the other side, and we are going to yarn over with those 2 loops, yarn over twice with those 2 loops on our hook. We're going to do a go into the third loop of this slip stitch here. This one really isn't that hard to see. Right there. Draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the next 2. You have 3 loops that remain, yarn over and go through the remaining 3. There, we did it, we did it, we did it. We took 2 triple crochets and we made them into 1. All right, let's finish this out now. Third loop still. Double crochet into the third loop of the next. So I have to come up here and count. Just to make sure that I am in the correct spot. Okay, double crochet into the third loop of the next, like that. After that, triple crochet 2 together. Double crochet again in the third loop of the next. Half double crochet into the next third loop. And a single crochet into the last one right before the picot. Sorry my video is so long. I thought I would just take you through it all. There we go. We did it. One more. I'm telling you, this is the hardest part. After this, it's easy. Easy after this. Chain 1, skip that picot, and we're going to do the same thing across here again. So the stitch after the picot, single crochet into that first loop. Half double crochet into the third loop of the next stitch. Like that. double crochet into the third loop of the next stitch, double crochet again in the third loop of the next stitch. Now we're going to triple crochet in the third loop of the next stitch. It's always hard. It's always hard and tight. There we go. No matter how loose you try to make slip stitches, they always end up being tight. Okay, we're triple crocheting. Now we're going to come over here to this final portion of this leaf, and we skip this slip stitch here, right? And we work in the first stitch of this last leaf, third loop of it, and we triple crochet into it. Half double into the next third loop. I'm sorry, double into the next third loop, and then double into the next third loop, and then half double into the next third loop, and the final stitch before the picot right here, single crochet into that third loop. Why do you always gotta be so tight and difficult? Look at that. Chain one and slip stitch into our first single crochet over here. We did it. We did it. There we go. There we go. We did it. We made it all the way around into the third loop. Now you could pop out any of those picots that are hanging out behind the chain one spaces. Now I promise you that was the hardest part of the entire pattern, but it makes such a big difference working in that third loop versus not working in it. If you don't work in it, it tends to just look like a regular star. So let's go ahead and begin the second round of squaring it off, or round. This would be round, it's around 4 rounds for the leaf. This would have been round 5. We'll go ahead and start on round 6. Now, you should have, if you count, at the end of round 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches in between the chain 1 spaces. And so you should have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 stitches. Okay. All right. We're going to chain 1. We're going to go back into the same stitch, and we're going to work a half double crochet. And we're going to work a half double crochet across every stitch until we get to our chain 1 space here that is our picots kind of hiding. All right, so you should have 10. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there is 10. And now we're at our chain 1 space. Now in this chain 1 space, here's our picot, so that we did 2 single crochets. So there's 1 single and 2 singles. Now we're going to repeat that all the way around. So again, a half double crochet into the next 10 stitches until you get to your next chain space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's 10. And now we're at our chain 1 space, because here's our picot in the space, 2 singles, 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around. It's okay if it's flipping up. Okay, it's supposed to do that. It's a half double into the next 10 until you get to your next chain space, and then you work 2 single crochets into it. Half double into the next 10 until you get to your next chain space, and you work 2 singles in it. We're going to do that until we make it back around to the beginning. All right, I'm coming back to the end here. I'm at my final chain space. I'm going to put 2 single crochets into it, and I'm going to end by slip stitching into my very first half double crochet. You should have a total of 60 stitches now. At the end of round 6. Remember, it's okay if it's flipping. See how mine's flipping? Looks like sand dollar kind of now, don't it? Just a little bit. It's amazing how many things you see in it while you're working it. All right, let's start round 7. Now we're going to start squaring it off, okay? Just a couple more rounds to go. So we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that's going to count as a triple crochet. Okay, now we're going to work back into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, right there, and we're going to work another triple crochet, a chain of 2, go back into the same spot again and work 2 more triple crochets. There's 1, and there is 2. You got your first corner down. All right, now we need to put a double crochet into the next 14 stitches. Double crochet. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and there's 14. And now we're going to put a corner into the next stitch, and the corner is 2 triple crochets. There's 1, a chain of 2, and 2 more triples into the same stitch. There's 1, and there's 2, and this is what we're going to repeat all the way around. So I'm going to put a double crochet again into the next 14 stitches. I'm going to do that real quick. Oops. 14. Okay, the next one starts as 1. 1, There's 14. Now we're going to do our corner again. So in the next stitch, it gets 2 triple crochets. There's 1, 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 more triples into the same spot. There's 1, and then there's 2. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So I'm going to do, remember, just leave your tail here hanging because we're going to use him here in just a bit. A double crochet in the next 14, and then we work our corner of 2 triples, chain 2, 2 triples, and then you should have 14 stitches left, and I'll meet back up with you at the beginning. All right, so I've made it to the end here. Should have a total of 72 stitches, not counting these chain 2 spaces. So 72 stitches and 4 chain 2 spaces here. You want to end by slip stitching into the top of your beginning chain 4, and that'll end round 7. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start round 8. And we are going to slip stitch 2 times until we get to our chain 2 space. So there's 1 and there's 2. Now we're going to chain 1, and in this chain 2 space we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets. So that is what the chain 2 spaces are going to get this time around. 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. And now we're just going to work 1 double crochet into every single stitch until we get to our next chain 2 space. So all the way across, we're just working double crochets until we get to our next chain 2 space. Okay, next chain 2 space, it's going to get the 2 double crochets. A chain of 2 and 2 more double crochets. Now we're just going to repeat this pattern all the way around. Double crochet in every stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space, and in that space is 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, double crochet in every stitch till you get to your next chain 2 space, and in that space is 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and double crochet in every stitch until we make it back to our starting point. All right, I made it to the end of round 8. You should have a total of 88 stitches now. We're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and tie this color off because we're not going to use it anymore. We've got one more round to go. But first, I'm going to go ahead and sew. We're going to go ahead and sew that tail on down there of the stem here so we can get rid of the string. All right, go ahead and use your yarn needle and that tail. Oh, I got some white poking through. Well, I can get rid of that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go right through there at the bottom to cover up that white that is poking through here. And back up and cover it up again. I must have went too deep on my third loop. It happens. All right, so now what we want to do is neatly sew the stem kind of cockeyed at an angle like that. So I just take it from the underside and neatly go up kind of at the side of the stitch, go back, and then go back down neatly at the side of the stitch. We'll do this all the way down and then back up neatly to the side of the stitch, and then back it down neatly. Just do it as neat as possible, and then kind of back up here into the corner so the corner isn't popping up, or the end there, like that. And then I'm going to go back down the other side neatly. Just a couple times. Try to get it at the edge of the stitch here, like that. Then that'd be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing handmade's perfect. Nothing store-bought's perfect. So back up one more time. And then back down again. And then we can hide this tail on the underneath side. There we go. And then our picots pop out as well. Oh, that looks nice. It looks nice going through that third loop. Trust me, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Okay, then I'm just gonna take this and just kind of sew it in here on the back a couple times. So it doesn't come undone. There we go. I'm going to clip this tail and that one, which I hit as I went. Alright. Now, see what we got here. Let's bring in the yellow so we can outline. And that'll be it. So you could start in any chain 2 space that you'd like to start in. Doesn't matter. Go on in it. And chain 1. Go back into the same chain 2 space and work 2 single crochets into this first one. There's 1 and there's 2. Now I'm going to work across. Don't forget to get this very first one because he hides sometimes. Working 1 single crochet into every stitch until I get to my next corner. So this is round 9 that we're on, which is the finishing round. Just 1 single in every stitch, and I'll meet back up with you when I get to my next chain 2 space. Alright, I made it to my next chain 2 space. I'm going to work 3 single crochets in this chain 2 space and the remaining chain 2 spaces. So there's 3 into that one, and then I'll continue to work across. Don't forget this very first one here. He hides sometimes. Working 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then when I get to my next chain 2 space, I'll work 3 single crochets into the corner, and then I continue around in the same manner of 1 single crochet in every stitch, 3 in every corner, until I meet back up with you at the beginning where we started. Alright, see you in a second. Alright, I've made it back to where I started. Now remember, we started with 2 single crochets into that first chain 2 space. We're going to put 1 more. That way we have a total of 3 to match our other chain 2 spaces. And we're going to end with a slip stitch into our first single crochet. And we're going to clip this and tie it off and hide any remaining tails that we have. Alright, once you get that finished, you might just have to fiddle with it just a little bit. That's it. I think it turned out really nice. Make these, sew them together, make a blanket, do whatever you want to do with them. You know, the sky's the limit when it comes to grannies. So I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial, and I hope that you were able to follow along okay. I think it looks really, really good. Remember, I really think that third loop is really what makes it stand out. So remember, if it gets hard, just keep trying. You got it. You got it. Remember, don't let that string and hook defeat you. You got it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys on my next video, all right? Bye, guys.